In this video, we're going to talk about how we can implement a collection using an array list as the underlying data structure to hold the elements. Now in future modules, we'll get into details about how to create our own things to store the elements of our collection in when we get to linked structures, and we'll also talk about using arrays. But for now, we have an array list collection that we can use to implement any collection interface. So before we get started, let's take a look at our priority interface that we saw previously. So priority is an interface that has two methods, set priority and get priority. Set priority takes a parameter and returns void. Get priority doesn't take a parameter and it returns an int. We implement the priority interface in the task class. The task has two data members, an integer priority and a string name. The constructor initializes a task with a name and a priority. And we have a setter for the priority, we have a getter for the priority. Both of those come from the priority interface. And then we have a toString because we always want to implement a toString method for any class that we write. So the focus of this video is going to be to implement a collection that implements the ToDoList interface. Now the ToDoList interface, notice that it extends iterable because it's an interface, and when the interface insists that another interface be implemented, we use the extends keyword like we would if it was a class. So classes implement interfaces, but interfaces extend other interfaces. So we'll have to implement an iterator method, and then the two important methods in our to-do list are add task and print tasks. So here we have a class called GetItDone, and we're going to use that to implement our to-do list. And so you can already see we have a problem. It's not happy, and that's because we have some unimplemented methods. So we'll click to automatically add those, and you'll notice it adds our iterator method, add task, and print task. Now I like to put the iterator at the bottom, so I'll move that down toward the bottom. And you may wonder, why is the iterator method here? Well, remember, the to-do list interface extends iterable, so I have to implement the methods of the iterable interface in addition to whatever new ones to-do list adds. Okay, so now, how do we actually implement these things? Because it looks like we're going to need to hold some tasks, right? We're going to add a task, and then we're going to have to print tasks. So we need some way to hold multiple tasks. Well, as a review, this is what a collection looks like conceptually. We have some client that uses the collection. It works with the collection through an interface, and then the collection itself handles methods for managing the elements in that collection. And the client really doesn't care how those are stored, just that they're stored. So for our GetItDone class, we're actually going to use an array list. Now what's nice about an array list is array list already has all the methods we need to manage a collection. So we can use those methods to manage the tasks that are being added to our to-do list. So I'm going to create an array list data member, and that array list is going to hold tasks. And you'll notice I get an error here. That error is due to it not knowing what to do with array list. So I just need to import that, and it'll do that for me automatically. So I need a constructor. So I'll have Eclipse generate one for me. And I actually don't even need the fields. I'll just have it called the super constructor. And then tasks is equal to new array list task. So then if I want to add something to this collection, I just add the task to my tasks array list. If I want to print everything, now that's where it gets a little trickier. And I think what I'll do is array list is also iterable. So what I'll do is I'll say for task t in tasks, we'll print t, and we'll say that there's the tasks too. In fact, we'll actually indent those a little bit. And then for the iterator, we're going to return task.iterator. Again, no reason to do this from scratch. Our tasks array list already includes that. So there's nothing for us to do other than just return what's there. And with this, our collection is complete. There's nothing else to do. So now let's write a driver to test this. We'll create a GetItDone list. We'll call it my stuff to do. And then we'll say my stuff to do, add task. Now here I need to do a task. Well, I could create some task objects and throw those in there, but I could also just say new task, and then I'll just make up some tasks to add. And then now that I'm done, I will call my stuff to do, print tasks. So if I run this, there's my task list. One other thing I want to do, I always want to have a toString even if I'm not actually using it in my tester, just because I never know what's going to happen with this class in the future. So let me add a toString method. I'll have Eclipse do that for me. And I'll just take it as whatever default it gives me, good enough for me. Okay, so that's an example of how we can use an array list to implement a collection.